Hi, it's Lynn, your adulting coach and founder of The Art of Adulting, where we increase independence with our autistic graduates. Dr. Gabor Mate was a physician for the first 20 years of his practice, and then the last 10 years he spent working with addicts on the streets of Vancouver. He suggests that this saying from his friend is so true. Only when compassion is present will people allow themselves to see the truth. And he saw a lot of truth and a lot of suffering in his patients and in the addicts. So he suggests that when our inner critic voice says, "You don't deserve it. You can't do it. You haven't got what it takes," that we need a compassionate listener to help us sort this out. He reminds us that the wisdom of that inner critic voice is and was to ensure our survival. It's just that we overdo it today. It's not as necessary as it used to be. In fact, the shame, guilt, and anxiety we live with for our very existence can be addressed with compassion. And that's why I found these 5 levels of compassion so helpful when I'm trying to help my autistic graduates outsmart the struggles that come from the inevitable pain, fear, and work that we all have to face in life, but that creates a lot of anxiety. The first level is ordinary compassion. That's when we watch them suffer and we just feel bad about it. We'd sure like it to be different. That's compassion at the foundation. Our second level is when we not only feel bad for your suffering, but want to understand why the suffering is happening. And that's where we learn as much as we can about the nature of autism and the impact that it has on our loved ones. Then we can level up to recognition compassion, which says that, I don't see myself as different from you. We may have different degrees of suffering on various levels, but we all suffer from the same thing. We want to soothe ourselves from the outside. That's when we escape into screens or food or alcohol or whatever pleasure, that if we only experienced it just enough to get the pleasure from it would be fine. But when we overdo it and ignore the actions that we have to do in order to create a life we want, that's when we create suffering for ourselves. We want to get satisfaction from that activity. And here's the problem. We can't get enough of something that almost works. It almost works for us to escape into whatever form of media we prefer, or eating or indulging in whatever other kinds of activities that are just regular, that are great pleasures. It's just when we overdo them and we keep looking for satisfaction from them when it's just not ever going to quite do it. And we're all doing it to fill the emptiness that we carry inside of us. That part that says, am I good enough? Is my life going the way that it should? And our desperation to fill that emptiness when things aren't going the way, when there's a gap between where we are and where we'd like to be, and we forget about all the progress we've made because our brain causes us to focus on that 80%, that gap between where we are and where we'd like to be, because it thinks it's necessary to do that for our survival. That's why 80% of our thoughts are negative and 95% of them are the same thoughts that we had yesterday. So sometimes we're not totally honest with ourselves in the way that we manipulate to try to fill that emptiness. We don't tell ourselves what's really going on. We blame it on someone else or something outside of our control. So the fourth level of compassion is the truth. And sometimes the truth is painful and uncomfortable. The truth is that we all wrestle with pain, fear, and work. It's gonna be what we're gonna deal with for the rest of our lives. And for our autistic graduates, they're gonna be on their own someday. And we'd sure love to see them flourish. It's just that right now they're caught up in the parasympathetic anxiety, which pushes them down to inaction, freezing. It's perfectly normal. It's the way their brains and our brains were designed. But we have to figure out how to deal with that fear. And that's where the fifth level of compassion comes from. The possibilities that they are whole and complete and wonderful human beings that may need some help leveling up in the areas of their life where they're not getting what they want. Makes sense. We all need help. None of us can do all of this life on our own. So please come join us in the Art of Adulting, where we apply these concepts to increase independence with our autistic graduates so that we all build the life we want together. Bye for now.